Good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of New York Giants Football Talk. Kenny K, and I'm here, of course, with my sidekick, I don't want to call him sidekick, my co-host, partner in crime, Mr. Paul Rosen. So let's get his opening statement right off the bat. Mr. Rosen, how are we doing tonight?
Good evening, sir. Kenny K. Good evening, fans. Everybody tuning in with us tonight. Pleasure to be back once more. What a crazy 24 hours this has been, not just as a New York Football Giants fan, but as a football fan. Three of the greatest coaches in football history, both collegiate and NFL, have retired, resigned, moved on, and we'll get into some of that today. But what a crazy 24 hours it has been.
It really has. I think I've been following like transactions and that part of football for about 30 years, and I don't think I've ever seen one this crazy, this early. Like you said, the college ranks, you got Saban, and what's going to happen with Harbaugh, and then the NFL, of course, Belichick on top of that list, which really plays second, makes Pete Carroll uh, getting released, getting fired, and Mike Vrabel getting fired, and make
Mm-hmm.
look don't even look like big deals, but they are as well. So interesting, definitely curious to see where all these teams go in the future, and of course, us losing Wink Martindale, and we all thought it could have happened, but it did, and it's just been a lost season, one to forget, and but we got some fun little topics, keep everybody's spirits high. And I think we're going to start off, which will put some Giant fans put some smiles on Giant faces. We'll start off with a little recap of last week's game, Week 18 versus the Eagles, Paul. So why don't you get started and put some smiles on some Giant fans' faces? Because I was smiling. Come 7 o'clock on Sunday night.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kenny. Yeah, obviously for a lost season, the last game of the year was against our bitter rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles, and this was our Super Bowl in no way, shape, or form. And what we wound up doing was finally beating them, not just beating them like bullies. The Eagles come in, and the best way to attack a bully? Punch him in the mouth and punch him in the nose, and that's exactly what the Giants did. They raced to a 24-0 lead, and the Philadelphia Eagles just quit. They started taking out their players, some injuries, but we never let up. We caused some turnovers. We attacked them, probably played our best game of the year. Tyrod Taylor had an excellent game at quarterback once again. The defense played outstanding. As I said, we shut them out in the first half, 24-0. Xavier McKinney, who is a pending free agent, and we'll get into him in a little bit, wound up having 2 interceptions and played an exceptional game. So all in all, it was a great game. I've been a Giants fan for 56 years, crazy as that sounds, and it was one of the sweetest wins as a fan of the New York Football Giants. While it was a sweet win, it was also a bittersweet game because 2 significant Giants, one, Sterling Shepard, in all likelihood, played his last game as a Giant, and secondly, Saquon Barkley, in my estimation, one of the best players I've seen as a Giants player, could perhaps have played his last game. So it was a great win, but we'll see what happens in the offseason with him and some of the other offseason moves that the Giants will make.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, but couldn't have said it any better, Paul. I mean, what better way to end the season? I am one that do not believe in tanking. And for those who somewhat do believe in it, the victory only cost us one position. And to beat the Eagles and tell me it's only going to cost us one position, sign me up 1 million out of 1 million times. I will take this result every time. And hey, you know what? All joking aside, a team that knew they were going home after this week in the Giants came out and put everything on the line, and a team that was going for a division, losing five out of their last six, going in the wrong direction, in my opinion. And a team that the locker room is lost. I don't think the players are playing with heart. There's a lot of things going on there in Philly land, and I love it. Absolutely love it. They get what they deserve, the fans. And I'm not afraid to say it. It's a Giants show. Bring it on, Eagle fans. You guys are not good sports when it comes to losing, and it's really quite pleasing to see a loss. But Saquon Barkley, great game. Tyrod Taylor had a good game. Defense showed up. Wan'Dale Robinson, the offensive line played above average. If we've only seen that a few more games this year, a few more plays this year, we may be in there as a wild card, Paul, because we had a lot of games we lost, that could have went our way. And that's every team. Sometimes the ball goes in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. But
yep, last year
very
it did.
Impressive win to end the season, and last year it did. Very impressive way to end the season, and look forward to the offseason and 2024 bouncing back and getting back to Giant football as we know it. A couple comments. Let's hit the comment board, Paul. Kurt,
Absolutely.
Evening, boys. Very impressed how Giants ended season. Thanks, Kurt, for listening in and
Thank you,
always
Kurt.
helping us out. Eddie Murphy, fellow Giant fan, read a report that McKinney wouldn't resign if Wink is defensive coordinator. Interesting. I did not read that, Eddie, but thank you. I'll look into that for sure.
I did not know that either.
And all right. So let's get Kurt's question out of it. Let's hit Kurt's question. Are you guys upset with the Wink news? Paul.
Initially, yes, I was. If you guys remember 2 years ago, I was the one that wanted Wink as our D coordinator. I felt he would be the kind of guy that the Giants defense need, an attacking, never let up kind of defense. At times, that's who they were. Other times, they weren't. There were problems. Obviously, there were personality conflicts with Coach Dable. The way it ended was not in the best interest of anybody. What I read coming out in Baltimore, that was a similar situation, ironically, with John Harbaugh, who I think most of the NFL community respects as a very, very good coach and a well-respected individual. So maybe it's in the best interest that there was a separation at this point, but hopefully whoever they bring in will have the respect of the organization and especially the defensive players on the Giants.
Yeah, now I'm going to get to Eddie's comment in a second. I was a Wink fan. I love defense football, and I love aggressive football. And he didn't care what down it was, how many yards were needed for a first down. He was coming at you no matter what. And yes, it would burn you at times, but year one, we got to Aaron Rodgers because of it. We got to Lamar Jackson because of it. It's going to burn you at times, and it's going to, save the day on other times. And this year it didn't work out. But what I did see, what I liked out of Wink, is Kayvon Thibodeau progressed. Our rookie Deonte Banks, amazing first-round pick, I think did great under Wink's tutelage. Micah McFadden, Azeez Ojulari, when he was in, did pretty damn good. Dexter Lawrence, I seen progression, and just because. And here's Eddie's comments. We're still ranked 28th in defense, not like we were losing a top-notch coordinator. I need to see who's going to replace him, and I'll answer that come next season. But I want to see how the players react towards a new coordinator, because it's very easy for for us to sit here and say Wink wasn't good because they, we were the 28th ranked defense. But if he's a player's coach, I believe in that. And if the players, like Eddie's saying, Xavier McKinney wasn't going to sign with Wink, well, if there's a few players that feel that way, well, then I change my mind about Wink. But we're going to get into some possible replacements for him in a few minutes. But I was a little sad to see him go. And right now I am definitely sad to see him go, Kurt. Eddie wants Antonio Pierce to get a head coaching job, but would like him as defensive coordinator. Her Giants feel the same. And that'll be our first one, Paul. And there's Trevor Salzman, a good friend from Denver Bronco Roundup. Watch for Antonio Pierce as a possible defensive coordinator candidate. Same thing as Eddie's saying. Good friend Clayton Huron, who's also a follower of the Denver Bronco Roundup. Hey, guys, smash that like button. Clayton, good to hear from you. But, why don't we get right into it, Paul?
Okay.
We're going to get into our first segment of the night, and that's going to be, should they stay or should they go? He's giving us the thumbs up, Clayton. Always appreciate you coming on here. I know you're a Bronco fan, and just hope we can give you some perspective as an outside fan, some stuff that's going on the Giants. I'll read a couple more comments, and then we'll get to our first couple players, Paul. Wink wasn't the problem from Trevor, but he didn't have the solutions that were needed for results. Eddie Murphy honestly thinks Dabes was jealous of Wink's hair as he signed a bald O-line coach. And if they say Antonio Pierce is the defensive coordinator, he's bald as well. And so is Kafka. So all in all, bald coaching staff, LOL. Eddie Murphy put some comedy in there. Always love your comments, Ed. Keep them coming.
Oh, yeah.
Always love them, Ed. But our first segment tonight, Paul, we named and I'll let you explain to the audience because you're a music guy, so I'll let you explain to the audience what our first segment is.
Thanks. Some of you guys may know the song by The Clash. Will they stay? Will you stay? Will I stay or will you go? Or should I go? Boy, did I mess that one up? Should I stay or should I go?
Should I go?
Should I go? Yeah. Maybe I will go. Anyway, well, in line with that title of the song by The Clash, we're going to talk about some Giants who we will either consider them to stay or maybe we should let them go. So we have a few that we listed, and I'll start. I'll give you one. And we were just talking about the aforementioned Xavier McKinney. So Kenny, what do you think? Should the X-Man stay or should he go?
Yeah, I'll tell you about Xavier McKinney, and then we'll get to more of the chat. I think he should stay. You know why I think he should stay? It's simple for me. Played every single down this year. Yes, last year, the year before, I should say, he had that injury, but that injury was on an unfortunate ATV accident. He matured this year. Played every single down, and that's very hard to do in the NFL at any position, but not somebody, especially somebody who's playing defense in a tackling position and running all over the field every single play. So, yes, 100% Xavier McKinney should stay.
Good. Yeah, I agree. Like you said, he played every single play on defense, as did Bobby Okereke. The only two players, actually, ironically, in the NFL that did that. Giants have about $37 million in cap. I think he should be the first one they bring back without question. With the young secondary, I think, and last year losing Julian Love, I think you have to have a little more stability back there. I think he's proven himself after this year. He came back strong. Obviously, it was an off-the-field injury that caused him to miss most of the rest of last season. But I think he proved himself, and I think he really should get a salary contract that will bring him back for the next few years, without a doubt.
Absolutely. Couple comments, Paul. Our good friend Michael Ronquillo, and he is absolutely right on this. We are all NFL fans, no matter what team you root for in the NFL. Thank you, Michael, and
Thanks,
welcome to
Mike.
our Giants show. Mike's another Bronco fan, so the Bronco fans are in full effect tonight, and rightfully so. They've been in the news a lot.
Yep.
Eddie Murphy saying, "Paul, stick to the parodies." LOL.
Thanks, Eddie. I'm going to write one about you. Be
Eddie
careful
wants to
what.
bring Shepard back as a coach.
Yeah.
Should stay at the right price. And Eddie said about Xavier McKinney, he didn't allow any touchdowns this season in coverage. Paul, I'm going to piggyback. I'm going to give you my first one that we have here, and it's Tyrod Taylor, backup quarterback, came in last 2 games. We got the win against the Eagles, Paul. Should he stay or should he go?
If it's up to me, I definitely bring him back. I think he should stay. I think they have to offer him at least a 1-year contract. We don't know what the heck is going to happen with Daniel Jones's injury. From what I read, he wants to be back at the beginning of the season. Who knows? We've all seen too many of these ACL injuries. It sometimes takes up to a year before the player has full mobility. Tommy Cutlets was a good story for a nanosecond. We saw the difference between Tyrod Taylor and a rookie in Tommy Cutlets. You got to bring this guy back. He would be a perfect bridge if, in fact, they will go back to Daniel Jones. You got to have a professional back there, and I think he showed over the last 2-3 games that he is a guy that he can play in the NFL and at worst have a competent backup quarterback. That's not to say, and we'll get into it, about maybe drafting a quarterback at some point in the draft, but I think to have a veteran back there, absolutely, he should stay.
Trevor's got a few defensive coordinator options for us. And Trevor, we got a little segment coming up after this, so I'm going to hold off on that, but we'll save that in the comments for when we bring that up in a few minutes. Eddie Murphy would bring him back, Paul. He thinks his value has increased considering how many teams didn't have a good backup while the starter was out.
Good point.
I agree with Eddie, but I am going to say he should stay, but I think he's going to go. I don't know what the Giants' plan is for drafting a quarterback, but I could see them bringing in, hold your ears, Denver Bronco fans, I could still see the Giants bringing in a Russell Wilson if he becomes available, because the Giants got to look at this and say, hey, if we had a quarterback, Eagles are playing the way we could leapfrog the Eagles or the Cowboys next year. You know, the Eagles are going backwards, and the Cowboys maybe excelled a little bit. The Giants need to get above one of those teams next year, if not both of them, and get back to the division. And I just don't know if Tyrod Taylor 6, 7, 8 games is going to be that answer. I do think like a Russell Wilson would be better situated for that type of role. And then you can see what you want to do with Daniel Jones when he comes back. But I think I think he goes, you know, and I'm okay with either way with Tyrod Taylor. What's the franchise tag price for a safety these days? I'm not sure, Eddie. I'd have to look.
I think I think I saw, just to quickly answer that question, I saw anywhere between 16 and 19 million a year. I think the Jamal Adams, a couple of the other all pro safeties are making in that range.
Eddie's saying Tyrod Taylor might be a good backup for the Jets, and Trevor's given us another name for the defense, so I'm marking that down. Trevor wants to know if Ryan Tannehill, Paul, Dable needs to win. He can't afford to put all his eggs in one basket with Jones and Tyrod. Maybe Tyrod, maybe he's a good fit. He wants to know. Maybe potentially draft Michael Penix. I know we got that segment coming up too, but if you want to answer that real quick,
I'll tell you. Ryan Tannehill would be the perfect bridge type of quarterback. Obviously, he's played as a starter. He's led the Titans to playoff games and wins. I think he would be a perfect bridge type of quarterback if, in fact, Daniel Jones came back or whoever else they might have as a quarterback. He'd be the perfect backup. So, yeah, a Ryan Tannehill. I would love to have someone like that back for the Giants if Tyrod Taylor doesn't return.
Michael Ronquillo saying Jared Mayo is the favorite for the Patriots head coaching job. They can hire him right away because he is on the staff. Eddie Murphy saying if you bring Ryan in, you need a running back to carry the offense like he had with Henry. Why don't we do this, Paul? Because we like to do open agenda and we want to interact with our audience. Why don't we jump ahead to our other segment that we had and come back to this after this segment? So
okay,
why don't we do we're calling this one All In, On the Fence, I'm Out. Basically, Paul and I got some different positions and coaches listed, and we're going to ask the audience and we're going to ask each other. Basically, all in means yes, bring him to the Giants. On the fence, you don't know. You can go either way. You're 50-50 on it, and I'm out. You want no part of him on the Giants. So I'll start by example. I know this was mentioned in the chat. Defensive coordinator, Paul. Antonio Pierce. He's not going back to the Raiders. We all know the news. Wink was resigned from the Giants, so we need a new defensive coordinator. Antonio Pierce, a great Giant in his day. Are you all in on the fence, or I'm out with Antonio Pierce coming in as defensive coordinator?
I am all in. I'm shoving all my money into the middle of the table, as Jim Fossil so famously said on him. Absolutely. Antonio Pierce, all in.
I'm with you, Paul. It's got to be if he's available, you go all in for him, and it's a no-brainer. You saw what he did with the Raiders. I'm surprised that they didn't give him a chance to be the head coach over there. Players like playing for him. You see that, and I think the defense would love playing for Antonio Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Murphy saying, "Oh, that's Michael. Sorry, let's get Eddie's first." I think the Giants will let Saquon test free agency because he won't even be a top running back and free agent. So many options out there. It's a big free agent market. Michael's saying the Commanders will not hire Belichick because they have two candidates for the GM job. Eddie Murphy's saying, I want Antonio Pierce, but I hope he brings in former defensive coordinators on his staff to help him. Good friend Mark Calderio saying, hello. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Mark.
Congratulations to Michigan once again. You want to give me one, Paul, or you want me to?
Yeah, no, I have one for you. A guy who actually was the defensive coordinator on the same team that Coach Dable came from, the Buffalo Bills, Leslie Frazier, who was the DC for the Bills at the same time that Coach Dable was the OC. What do you think of him? Are you all in on the fence or not at all?
Yeah, if Antonio Pierce would be my number one choice, I think Leslie Frazier would be definitely my number two choice. A lot of respect around the league. Coached with Dable. I would be all in with him if Pierce goes somewhere else. Absolutely. I like that move for sure.
Okay. Give me another one.
I got one more defensive coordinator for you in the audience. Well, Eddie Murphy's saying dark horse Belichick. Just kidding. Hey, it's a long shot, but you never know. Mm-hmm. I got one that nobody's really talked about. And, well, Trevor mentioned Gerard. Who did Trevor mention? I'm sorry, Trevor. I'm going back.
Gerard Mayo for the New England position.
Yes. Why don't we do his first? He's also saying Christian Barker, the defensive coach for the Broncos, would be a name to consider. He's been around a lot of great defensive minds. I would be on the fence with him, Trevor. I don't know him very well. He also said Leslie Frazier, like you, Paul. Mm-hmm. And Gerard Mayo, if they don't become head coach, what are your thoughts on Gerard Mayo?
Was he the defensive coordinator for the Patriots right now?
Yes.
He was.
Yes.
I think I'm on the fence with him. I'm not exactly sure. I know he was a great player with New England, but I'm sort of hesitant as to what he could do with the Giants. So I'm on the fence with him.
I guess I can't go all in on everybody, but he would be my. I guess my first choice would be Antonio Pierce, just because his past history with the Giants, what he did with the Raiders. He didn't he didn't get the job there, and I don't understand why. So I would definitely take him in for the Giants. Leslie Frazier, history with Dable would be my second choice. But hey, that Patriots defense was hot this year, so I'm on the fence, but more on the all inside of the fence as the I'm outside of the fence. So I would look into Gerard Mayo as well. And my last defensive coordinator guy for you, Paul, would be Mike Zimmer, the former head coach of the Vikings. I hear he's
Yeah.
great with defensive backs.
Um, I, I just remember his time in Minnesota. I'm not totally. I think I'm on the fence with Mike Zimmer. Um,
Okay.
that's my feeling at this point.
Eddie Murphy saying, since we listen to more Giants news or whatnot, has Carl Banks ever thought about coaching? I feel like he would be good on the staff somewhere.
Yeah, I think while certainly Carl Banks is one of the greatest players in Giants history, I think his his broadcasting and other business and career interests, I don't think he wants to do a 24/7 gig as a coach at this point in his life.
Thanks for the correction, Trevor. Trevor saying he was Gerard Mayo was the inside linebackers coach for the Patriots, not their defensive coordinator. So it would be a promotion for Gerard Mayo. So yeah, I'm on the fence, but leaning towards the uh, all-in fence.
I have
Mark
one
wants to
more.
bring back Pepper Johnson. Eddie Murphy
Mhm.
saying Frazier isn't bald, and Carson saying hello. What's up, Carson?
Hey Carson, I have an interesting one that I want to present to you. And
Okay.
his name has been recently in the news. Of course, on Monday night, Michigan Wolverines beat our Washington Huskies for the national championship. And this guy played a big role in winning the championship for Jim Harbaugh. His defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, who actually also coached in the NFL with John Harbaugh on the Baltimore Ravens staff. What would you think of him coming back to the NFL as the defensive coordinator of the Giants?
I'm going to be out on that. I'm going to be out on that, and only because college and NFL are two different levels of play, and there's going to be so much expectation for Jesse Minter. And Jesse Minter is a great coordinator for Michigan Wolverines, but they just won a national championship over there. And he comes to the Giants with the New York media. If our defense started faltering, it's going to be ugly for Jesse Minter, and it shouldn't. They should give him some leeway, but they won't. The New York media. So for that reason alone, the New York media would be the reason why I'm out on Jesse Minter, because if the defense did not play up to its potential, there'd be a lot of talk about him, get him back to Michigan, whatnot.
Can I throw one more name in the ring? And it's
Yeah, yeah. And then I'll get to more comments.
all right, a very familiar name that we all know. What would you think? Where do you sit with if the Giants thought of bringing Ron Rivera in as defensive coordinator?
I'm out with that too.
Okay.
I'm out with that too. He needs to stay out of the league for a year. Come back. Don't. I never was a big fan of the coaches that jumped right back into a position role. And again, Washington was so bad, the Giants had their number. He comes and the defense plays not up to its potential. First couple games, he's going to get thrown right out of town. And it's not fair to Ron Rivera because he is a good coach.
Yeah.
And I just thrown in New York media in it. I'm going to sound like a broken record with some of these all in on the fence, I'm outs, but the New York media would destroy him. And he doesn't deserve that. A couple comments. Eddie Murphy was just going to ask if the college defensive coordinator would work in the NFL. I think it would, Ed, but not for our Giants in the position we're at right now. You know, we Wink Martindale was liked by a lot of people, and the coordinator that comes in has to make us forget about Wink Martindale. You know, and I'm one of them. You know, I want to see that same style of aggressive defense next year, whoever comes in. Trevor Saltzman saying, I'd say Frazier is the leader in the clubhouse for the Giants coordinator job if he doesn't get a head coaching job. The connection between Dable and Frazier is important. Dable knows what Frazier does best. Good point.
Yeah.
I like that. I would welcome Leslie Frazier in there with open arms. Eddie Murphy doesn't think Dabes will bring someone on the staff who can possibly take his job. Dable's job's on a hot seat. I think he's going to bring in a lot of people that I think could help. And I do like that Leslie Frazier comment a little more, Trevor, now thinking of that. Dable needs to have a winning season next year, or they're going to start wanting him to get moved out. Here's a question from Kurt.
Wait, what? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. Good. No, go ahead.
I was just going to address that. If you're confident, if you're sure that you're going to be the kind of coach or manager, you bring in the best qualified candidates to surround yourself, because they are all going to make you look even better. So, you know what? If he's not afraid to bring in guys like a Leslie Frazier, an Antonio Pierce, guys that have coached at a high level in the NFL, those are are the kinds of coaches that you want to surround you with, not guys that, well, I might be afraid they're going to take my job.
Couple comments. Eddie Murphy, real dark horse when I heard Glazer say Wink was gone. I was hoping Salah got fired and Giants hired him as a defensive coordinator. Maybe. Our good friend Ryan Scoops Woodhams, congrats on kicking the crap out of us. You all deserve that win. I'm nervous entering the January games. Eagles have got a long road ahead of them. I think Scoops is doing a show Saturday. You could check Scoops out if I'm not mistaken. If I am, Ryan, correct me wrong. What's the Scoop? 9 p.m. Saturday. I believe he's doing a show, our time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Let's get a question in from Kurt. If you don't have three, Paul, I'll take one. I'll take two. Top three best spots for Barkley. If you want me to go, I can go as well.
I have one that I'm almost, I don't even want to spit out, but I'll give you this. What's one team that seems to be able to sign every free agent that they somehow have cap space? Well, two, but the one I'm thinking about is closer than the one on the West Coast, but the one about 90 miles south of New York. And could you see those the Howie Roseman swooping in and signing Saquon to a deal for the Eagles?
I could, and so can Eddie Murphy. That's his number two. His number one is the Bills. I'm going to give you one, and we all know what's going on in Denver. With Denver Broncos are number one on my list. Let me rephrase that. I would love for him to come back on the Giants, but it's like Carson with Matthew Stafford. Sometimes you got to move on. The way our offensive line is, Saquon Barkley doesn't deserve that. You know, maybe it's time to rebuild that offensive line. Let Saquon go and build the offensive line, and then bring in a young running back or a cheaper than Barkley. I say the Broncos, playmaker running back, and you go and draft either a wide receiver or tight end, you're winning that division next year. You get a playmaker like Saquon Barkley on the Broncos. And maybe I just following the Broncos a little bit more this year. Maybe that's why I'm saying them. Number two, Eddie Murphy hit the nail on the coffin. You bring him up to Buffalo with Josh Allen, I'm scared if I'm an AFC team next year for sure. And number three, I'm going to give you a dark horse that nobody's really talking about. Cleveland Browns. Nick Chubb's injury history with his legs. They might need a running back next year. and they're close. They get with their quarterback situation. I know Deshaun Watson will be back next year. Get Saquon Barkley on the Browns. That's dangerous. Kurt's saying he would take Barkley. The Dodgers, or you're talking about football, LOL. I don't know. Michael would take him. Bring Barkley to Denver. Trevor with Bowers and Sutton. Yeah, Barkley would be my number one, guys. I mean, I know what you guys need over there. I follow your Broncos quite a lot this year, and that would be where I would go. Thanks for that question, Kurt.
I have one. I have one other spot, a very, very dark horse, but the Chargers. Austin Eckler may have played his last game also with the Chargers, and they might be looking to bring in a guy, especially with the new coach. Justin Herbert needs a guy they throw to the backs a lot. He'd be a perfect 3-down back out there. So
let's do a couple quarterbacks, Paul. Let's switch gears a little bit. Couple quarterbacks, all in, on the fence, or I'm out. And this is Kurt's old segment from our K&K Sports Show days, early days. So to thank Kurt, brought this segment back tonight. I thought it would be perfect little Giants segment tonight. Paul, I'm going to give you the first one, and I'm going to ask the Bronco guys, especially out there. Russell Wilson, would you go all in for him on the fence, or I'm out? It's not going to cost much money if the Broncos do release him. Now, it's a hypothetical because we don't know what's going on in Denver yet with that Russell Wilson. But if he was released, do you bring him on a cheap $1 to $2 million deal and give him some incentives, which would make his performance probably pretty damn special if you give him an incentive thing? I'll tell you mine. I'm all in. I'm all in with Russell Wilson. That would be mine.
yeah. Well, you guys know I've been a big Daniel Jones fan, but that all being said, with his history of injuries and inconsistent play, obviously, O-line, other factors, but yeah, I'm all in on Russell Wilson. You bring him in here, all of a sudden you're able to compete with the Cowboys, the Eagles, and some of the other teams in the NFC. And I truly believe he would really fit in well with the Giants. So yeah, bring him in. I'll pick him up at the airport if we have to.
I'll give you my second one, Paul, and then I'll let you ask yours. Tommy DeVito, Paul.
Like I said, it was a good story. He did what he needed to do, and what he gave some oomph in the Giants season. I bring him back at least to training camp, and let's see how it plays out. I think they're going to draft a quarterback. Obviously, Jones will be there, and we'll see what happens if they bring in another veteran quarterback, if Taylor is brought back. But I would at least have him in training camp. So, yeah, I would bring him back.
Couple comments. I would bring him back too on the little practice squad, third string guy. You need that emergency quarterback. He knows the system. It'd be easy to keep him. Like you said, bring him in the training camp. Daniel Jones is hurt to start the season. You never know what's going to happen regular season. Bring him in as an emergency. Keep him on the team as an emergency guy. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, look how many. Look how many teams had to go through 3-4 quarterbacks this season. I don't think I've ever seen an NFL season where so many teams have used 2-3 quarterbacks, 4 quarterbacks in Cleveland's case. So, yeah, wouldn't be a problem bringing him back.
Eddie Murphy would rather take Justin Fields. I believe Dabes and Kafka would be perfect for him. No, I'm like Kurt. No, I don't want no part of Justin Fields.
No.
I just don't like him. That's just my opinion. If he did come, I'd have to root for him, and I'd hope I was wrong about him, but I just don't like Justin Fields. Trevor would rather go after Tannehill if he's the Giants. Not sure if Russ would fit Dable's system. I don't know if Dable is willing to take that risk with being on the hot seat. I don't know. Dable's system is more like a mobile, rolling out, throwing the ball deep. I would think it just don't have that with with our offensive line play. That's the problem. And if we don't improve our offensive line, a pocket quarterback's going to get destroyed. But that's what we need to address first and foremost. And funny that you said about the Tannehill, the pocket quarterback I'm talking about. One interview, we hired our offensive line coach already. So I don't know. Like, it better show vast improvement next year, or I'm going to definitely question Daboll's judgment on hiring staff. Not going to happen. This from Michael. Vance Joseph's name has come up for a head coaching job today. And Eddie wouldn't be surprised if Bills lose early in the playoffs and they start over and Giants trade for Allen. I would take Josh Allen in a second, Eddie. In a second. We passed up on him with Dave Gettleman. We should have gotten Josh Allen should have been the guy. There was talks about Josh Rosen, no relation to Paul, but Josh Allen was the guy I wanted from day one. So yeah, I thought he was going to be a special quarterback, and still has time to prove himself that he could be a special quarterback. He's definitely top 10 in my opinion. So, all right, Paul, you want to give me a couple in the audience, a couple on your list?
Yeah. One guy that's actually started and come in as a second or even third string quarterback in the NFL. He's been with a few teams, but depending on what's going to happen with the Daniel Joneses and Tyrods, Gardner Minshew. Are you all in on the fence or no way?
I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence because I'm going to bring the money into it. Do we want to bring in a Gardner Minshew, which is probably going to cost, I would say, $15-20 million, because he did almost get the Colts to the playoffs. He played the full season with the Colts. So do I want to bring that into New York when I can use that money elsewhere? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say on the fence. I mean, if you can get him on the cheap, $5 to $10 million, yeah, I would take him. But I'm on the fence because of the money situation.
Okay. And another guy that obviously wore out his welcome in this city, but he's still young. He was a first-round pick, and everybody deserves a second chance. Tannehill, we talked about. Hey, he went from Miami to Tennessee, and he turned out to be a pretty competent quarterback. Mac Jones. What do you think of Mac Jones?
Oh, I'm out. I'm out. He couldn't do it with. I'm okay with bad quarterback play. Give him a second chance, but this guy was making grammar school mistakes on the field, and you can't fix that. That's not getting fixed. And Mac Jones will be either playing in the USFL in a couple of years or watching the games on broadcasting games on CBS or college games on ESPN. That's where he's heading, because and I knew it I had a feeling from day one when he was slipping in the draft that he was going to be a bust, and I think he is a bust. So I am totally out on Mac Jones.
Okay.
Eddie's saying, "Don't say it, Rosen." And oof, thought you were going to say Wilson, LOL.
No, actually, I was going to
Michael
say Eddie.
Saying,
I was going to say, thank goodness I didn't say Zach Wilson, which I wasn't, but definitely not.
That might be who he's talking about. Oof, thought you weren't going to say Wilson. He might be talking about Zach Wilson.
Yeah, no.
Michael Malkiel saying Drew Lock deserves a second chance at quarterback. I would put him on the fence, Drew Lock. I think he deserves a second chance with the Broncos, Michael. That would be my bridge quarterback that I would, if I was the Broncos. And you move on from Russ, because he's played in Denver before, and I don't think he got a fair shake with Denver when they started Teddy Bridgewater over him. So I would definitely that would definitely deserve a second chance, and I would definitely welcome him to the Giants with the chance of getting the starting role. What about you, Paul? All in fence? I'm on the fence with Drew Lock.
I'm on the fence. Yeah, I mean, I know he's played a couple of good games this year for Seattle, but again, I don't know how fast I would be wanting to bring him in. I'd be on the fence regarding Drew Lock.
Got a hello from a Janet. Hi, Janet. How are you?
Hi, Janet.
All right, Paul. We're going to do some free agents. We'll get this going a little faster here. My first ones are the big name. I'm going to come right out, Paul. Right out of the gate. Saquon Barkley, Paul. All in, on the fence, or are you out?
I'm all in. I think he's the cog that makes the Giant offense go, regardless who the quarterback is. He's got to be there. You bring him back, give him a multi-year contract, and I don't see franchising him again. But in my estimation, you bring him back. He's just too valuable. He wants to be a New York Giant for life. The guy bleeds blue. You bring him back. I think you can work out a deal. The sooner the better. Lock him up and move on. There's other positions we've got to deal with, and that would be one less position we're going to have to fill if you bring back Saquon.
I'm gonna upset a lot of Giant fans, somewhat upset them because I'm not out. I'm not out with Barkley, but I'm on the fence. I am on the fence. I honestly think we're gonna move on from Saquon Barkley this year. And again, it's the money thing. Because our offensive line was so bad, I really think we need to address that. And bringing in free agents is going to cost money. And money we don't have to pay Saquon Barkley along with offensive linemen. So I really think we got to go that route. And I wish, as long as Saquon doesn't go to the Cowboys or Eagles, I will be rooting for him every day if he does leave the Giants. And, he was a good Giant. He plays hard every week that he's in. And I would wish him nothing but the best. I just hope he wouldn't go to the Cowboys or Eagles if we didn't bring him back. Couple questions. Eddie Murphy wants to know, Paul, if you think the NFL will ever do the lottery format like every other sport.
The lottery in terms of the draft, you
Like a
mean?
draft lottery. Yeah, draft lottery.
I don't think so. I know it works in basketball very well. It's great. It's weighted and all of that. But I like the way, personally, I love the way the draft is held in the NFL. Uh, I, I think the weaker teams, even with the opportunity to draft players, they still gives them an opportunity to better themselves. You see the turnaround more so in football, perhaps from one year to the next. Though you can't see that with the Panthers 2 years in a row with the worst record. But I like the way that the NFL holds the draft.
I do too, but I could see them changing if you start seeing noticeably teams tanking more and more, because that is not fair to the fans who watch and go to the games and pay their hard-earned money to watch a team just tank and lose. And, always bicker back and forth with some Bronco fans, not the guys that are in here tonight, but some other Bronco fans. Want to take steps backwards. Why? Like, what about the fans that want to go and watch the best product that you can put on the field? When you're going to go and want to watch games where your team's not going to win more than 4 or 5 games, that's not fair to the fans. And I think you could eventually see a lottery if more and more teams are noticeably doing the tank rebuild type of scenario. So maybe Eddie, I think maybe it's going to be 5, 10 years down the line, but I think we can maybe see something change. Trevor's disagreeing with me, and he's agreeing with you, Paul. He's saying, I don't, Eddie Murphy, I don't like it because in the NFL it's a lot harder to tank.
Yeah,
It's a good point, but
yeah.
what teams do, teams are tanking, and I think if you start seeing that trend upward, you can see a draft lottery in the future. Eddie Murphy saying the problem he has with Barkley is he took way too many third downs off.
Mm.
I'm going to
That's
give
a
you another.
good point.
I'm going to cut mine down to one more free agent, Paul, that I wanted to give you, and then you can give me a couple of yours because
Okay.
it's getting a little late on time here already. T. Higgins, top wide receiver for the number 2 wide receiver for the Bengals, but definitely would be a number 1 option on a team like our Giants, Paul. Going to cost a little money. Going to be in the, he's going to be expensive,
Mm-hmm.
but we need a number 1 wide receiver.
I would be all in on him. Here's my only concern. Is he doing as well as he does only because of Jamar Chase as the number 1 guy there? That would be only my consideration as to whether or not you promote him or you bring him in as that number 1 guy. And because the Giants don't have those real big game breakers like a Jamar Chase, does he rise to that level of the kind of receiver that we really need? That would be my only hesitation.
I'm with you, Paul. I'm all in. If I'm all in or I'm out, it's one or the other. That's going to come down to draft day, first round.
Mm-hmm.
We're picking number 6. There's 3 wide receivers that I would take for the Giants, and that means T. Higgins is out. Marvin Harrison, probably going to get taken before we pick at 6. But you've seen crazier things happen in the draft, so you never know. Malik Neighbors, who've been in a bunch of mock drafts, LSU star wide receiver, and we know LSU and Ohio State seem to be wide receiver universities. They call Iowa tight end university. Well, LSU and Ohio State are wide receiver universities. So Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze from Washington. Any of those 3 are on the Giants next year, I'm out on T. Higgins. If we don't get any of them 3, I'm all in on T. Higgins. We need a number 1 wide receiver, and he could be that number 1 wide receiver if given the chance, in my opinion.
The only problem, not problem, but with free agency that usually starts when the league's year begins in March. So they would have to make a decision at that point, and obviously the draft doesn't begin until the end of April. So it's just the timing of what would they do prior to the draft.
Yeah.
Would they go after
Well, yeah,
Higgins?
no, right. I'm saying, as for me as a fan, of course we don't know, but Giants picking at 6, they're going to have a choice of wide receiver.
Yeah,
2 to 3 should be up there when they pick
exactly.
at 6.
No, I
So
agree. I agree.
if they're going to go that route, I would be out on T. Higgins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I that was saying go. Eddie Murphy saying go get Justin Jefferson. He seems unhappy in Minnesota, and Carson would be happy. LOL. Justin Jefferson would be amazing, but I don't think that would happen.
No.
Michael saying Polk 2 from Washington. Yeah, he did come out. The other wide receiver of Washington declared for the draft. All right, Paul, you got a couple free agents for me. I'm gonna catch up on.
I have a couple that I think are both very well. One, without a doubt, is obviously a very big weak spot, as we all know, and the other one is also a weak spot that we really need to shore up. So, in in any order, the first one is Trent Brown from the Patriots. He can play either left tackle or right tackle, which is really important because it seems like a lot of times with Andrew Thomas at left tackle, we are moving people left to right, and it's for whatever reason it's not working out. The other thing is you bring him in, then you can bump Evan Neal, obviously a big disappointment, into the inside at guard, where he has played at Alabama, and you put him along Trent Brown. So what do you think of Trent Brown?
Ready? I don't have my playing cards in front of me, but Texas Hold'em fans, pocket aces. Somebody raises me, and I know I got the best hand. All in, baby. All in. All in. All in. I'll say it 1,000 times. We need offensive line help. All in with Trent Brown.
Good, good.
100%. No, all jokes aside, tackle for the Patriots, Trent Brown, he would be a huge upgrade for us. We need offensive line more than anything. We've had an historic, record-breaking season on our offensive line. We moved on from our offensive line coach, thank goodness. Now we're bringing in a new coach. You need to bring in a couple new players. Trent Brown would be a huge addition and a huge free agent signing. So yes, all in, Paul.
Good. The other two guys I'll mention are both defensive players that I feel we need to upgrade the pass rush. Kayvon obviously came into his own, had an outstanding second year after a relatively quiet rookie year. But one of these two guys, I'll give them both out, and you tell me both of them. Josh Allen, not the Josh Allen who quarterbacks the Bills, but the edge from the Jaguars, or Danielle Hunter, that great defensive end and edge rusher for the Vikings. What do you think of those two?
Both of them are great. I would be all in on both of them and keep Aziz on the team as well, because we all know he gets hurt every year. So you got some insurance there. Let him come in as your third guy, and you got something brewing. But I would take Danielle Hunter over Josh Allen would be my 1-2. But all in on either one of them. If you can make the money work, absolutely. Put me all in.
Yep, I agree.
Eddie Murphy's couple comments from him. Eddie Murphy would also see the Giants build their O-line from free agents if there's any good ones. Trent Brown, Connor Williams, the center that can play guard. Remember, he was on Dallas, Eddie, Paul. He's on Miami now. And there's another guy, the last name Hunt, on Miami. So I'm curious to watch these two guys against the Chiefs Saturday night. They're two free agents that could be one of those two could be coming to the Giants as well. Here you go, Eddie's. We had this we were going to talk about this on our first segment, but we jumped ahead. Paul, do you bring back Isaiah Simmons?
Absolutely. That was going to be, should I stay? Absolutely. I think he was just getting comfortable toward the end of the season, ironically, in Wink's defensive scheme, and he made some big plays. He had a pick six. He rushed. I believe it was Jalen Hurts at one point, forced them into a turnover. Without a doubt, I would bring him back. I think he would fit in. They could use him in a multitude of ways, and without a doubt, I would bring him back.
That's a hard one for me to answer. I would bring him back if I was defensive coordinator of the Giants. But he's one of those hybrid type players. So you have to see what kind of defense the new defensive coordinator is gonna run, in my opinion, because he falls into that hybrid category. Like he can play edge, he can play linebacker. Like, what does the defensive coordinator want to do? What's his scheme? Would be my decision on Isaiah Simmons. And Eddie's saying he has the speed for linebacker in this league. I agree. I would bring him back. I wanted Isaiah Simmons as a rookie. I wanted the Giants to draft him. So that's how much I was on Isaiah Simmons. So I was ecstatic when we got him for pretty much nothing from the Cardinals.
Exactly.
And, so I was ecstatic there. Paul, why don't we do this? I know you got a couple too. Why don't we do what we should do in the draft if we're all in on the fence and I'm out, and then we'll wrap the show up because we're in the hour mark already. So we'll go a few minutes more, and we'll do the draft version of all in on the fence. I'm out. I'm going to give you the big name right off the bat, and it's not out of our range. We're picking number 6. I'm going to give you Caleb Williams, Paul. All in, fence, or I'm out.
I'm out. I saw him play against Notre Dame. He was horrible. I know they're talking about a generational talent and the next Andrew Luck, the next Trevor Lawrence, the next John Elway. Name generational talents. I don't want him. I don't think he's going to be successful. I think I just don't think, especially in New York, with the way the media is, we've always talked about that. There's got to be a certain kind of mentality, whether you're playing or coaching in New York, and I don't think he has that. And I think it would not be a good fit at all. So I'm all out.
Eddie's agreeing with you. He's saying it's too cold over here. LOL. Uh, I'm gonna sweep the board. I'm out, and I'm out for the reasons you guys all said, but I'm also out because we need a lot more to become a Super Bowl contender than a possible generational talent. There's no guarantees in this league. We all know that. And you know what? If the Giants choose to not take a quarterback this year, maybe next year. There's always 2026. There's always next year. It's never this year. So I don't like. And what's going to happen is I'm out also because what you're going to have to give up. You're going to have to give up next year's first round pick. You're going to have to give them maybe even 2 first round picks. I don't think the Giants can afford that in the situation they're in right now. And, you take steps backwards in this league, it's hard to get back on track. So look at the Panthers. They went all in for Bryce Young. And where are they now? No draft pick in first round this year, and finished 2-15 last year. So how's that working out? So I'm out as well. Michael Ronquillo saying Jaden Daniels for the Broncos or the Giants. I wouldn't mind Jaden Daniels. He's got the most upside, I think, Michael, out of the quarterbacks coming out. He played for LSU, great season there. And Eddie's he feels like Daniels or Kurt's man crush JJ. Kurt's man crush JJ.
His bromance. I'll give you one. I'll give you one, Kenny.
Let me give you one more. Okay, yeah. You know what? You give me yours, and then I got a couple. I got a position for you, so I'll do my position for you.
All right, a guy that we all love, a guy that's been a winner, been on 2 national championship teams, a guy that the Giants, if they brought him in, he'd fit. He's not just the prototypical good receiver, great blocker, but he could be a weapon. And he's an excellent teammate as well. Brock Bowers, are you all in on the fence or no way?
If this is the final hand in the poker game, when you got the winning hand, all in, you trap them. We're going to take a quarterback. We're going to take a quarterback. You trap them. Team behind you is going to take Brock Bowers. Nope. You go all in and you get this guy. And you keep Darren Waller because I've been saying it. You can move. You got Waller now and Bowers, 2 big receiver type tight ends, and we know Waller's hurt a lot, but Patriots were the last team I saw do it. Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, and they were phenomenal 1-2 punch there. So I'm waiting for the next team to do that. So I thought a couple of years ago the 49ers blew it, and we saw them. They got lucky with Brock Purdy. They drafted Trey Lance when I thought they should have went Kyle Pitts and have Kittle and Pitts as their tight ends. So they got lucky with Purdy. They got taken off the hook. But I want to see a team like the Giants, Waller and Bowers, all in, baby, all in. A couple more comments, Paul. I buy McCarthy Broncos jersey next day from Kurt. Eddie Murphy wants to bring that Kool-Aid kid in, just like in the name, LOL.
Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be good. Paul, I'm going to give you a couple positions, and I got some names for you. I just mentioned wide receivers, so I'll start with that. Are you all in, fence, or out on one of the 3 big wide receivers in the draft? Harrison, Malik Neighbors, or Rome Odunze?
Yeah, I know you had Marvin Harrison Jr. on your list. I had Odunze on mine. Absolutely. They would be phenomenal. They would be the number 1 guy that the Giants haven't had in a long time. So 100%, like you said, push all the chips into the middle, all in.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I got to go all in too. Uh, Crazy things happen in the draft. Maybe you move up if you have Harrison that much higher than the other two guys. Maybe you move up and try and get him from the Cardinals, who's picked 4. You're not going to have to give up that much moving 4 to 6. But maybe you move up a couple spots if Harrison is that much better. Everybody talks about Williams being the generational talent. If Harrison's that much
Yeah.
better than the other wide receivers, move up 2 spots and get him. Eddie
I
Murphy's saying Harrison, Slayton, Robinson, Hyatt would be a nice wide receiver room.
yeah.
I
I'll tell
agree
you,
with that.
I love when you have pedigree players. And what I mean by that is a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., who obviously his daddy was one of the great receivers of all time, Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison. So when you have guys like that, it to me, when they grow up around football, they understand not just playing football, but seeing it day in and day out from the time they're young. I think it somehow seems to work better with guys like that than perhaps other players who may not fully understand what it takes to be a winner in the NFL.
Yeah. One more position for you, Paul. Offensive line. There's 2 big ones out there for us at 6. Maybe we decide to move back in the draft to like 9 or 10. Joe Alt from your Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And I'm not going to attempt to say the whole name, but Fashanu,
Yeah,
the tackle from Penn State.
yeah.
All in, fence, or I'm out.
All in. Like I just said about pedigree players, Joe Alt, his daddy, All Pro, John Alt for the Chiefs. I think he played for the Chiefs. I think and a couple of other teams. So yeah, I mean, I obviously I saw him play the last 2-3 years. Phenomenal tackle. Played mostly left tackle with Notre Dame. I think in the last 2 years, never allowed a sack. So absolutely, I would take him in a second. Uh, uh, Feshanu, also highly rated, great player at Penn State, could be also there when the Giants draft at 6. So Giants are going to have a lot of maybe good decisions, good problems to have drafting 6 this year.
Absolutely. Michael is also saying that Marvin Harrison had family genes in the NFL. His dad played with Peyton Manning, Colts. Yep. Marvin
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Sr. That was an amazing duo there. Eddie's saying Alt will be a generational talent on the OL. And he's also saying Shane didn't even commit to Neal as a starter next year. I'm going to tell you why I'm on the fence. If we're picking at 6, we picked Evan Neal last year, and we saw what happened with Evan Neal. Joe Alt, if you're telling me it's Joe Alt the pick, I'm all in. I'm on the fence with Fasano because he's got a lot of upside, but he's still young and raw, they're telling me. And if that doesn't work in New York, we see what disaster it could be. I told you I'm going to sound like a broken record. The media, we're going to attack Joe Shane. They're going to attack the offensive line. Another bust on the O-line, another bust on the O-line that we drafted. The media is going to destroy it and destroy the kid probably on top of it. So that Joe Alt, all in, Fashanu on the fence.
Good.
Any other ones, Paul, you got? Or
I'm going to give you 2 others, both on defense, both coming from really good schools. Uh, Dallas Turner, the defensive end edge from Alabama. And I love this guy. He went back to school for his senior year. Jared Verse, edge from Florida State. Just like we were talking about earlier. Giants still need some better players to rush the quarterback and team up with Kayvon and maybe Aziz. So what do you think of those 2 guys?
2 great defensive talents. Probably going to be the first 2 defensive players off the board. Could very well easily be the 2 players off the board. I'm going to answer it this way. If we're picking 6 and we stay at 6, I'm out. If we move back I'm on the fence because I'm going to take the best available players. So if my best available player is Joe Alt at, let's say, number 9, we move back to number 9 or number 10. Joe Alt's there and he's top rated, I'm going Joe Alt. But if Dallas Turner or Jared Verse now is my guy, best available, I'm all in. So at 6, I'm out. If we move back in the draft, I'm on the fence, leaning towards all in.
Sounds good.
All right. Anything else, Paul, before we wrap this up? We're an hour and 11 in. I can go another 2 hours, but we can save that.
Yeah.
Hey, this is great. I mean, we got content we can give you guys each week, and I love it. You guys keep coming on with us each week. We'll bring you a show each week. Trust me. We'll have content for you. We're going to work on getting some guests. Give us your thoughts on what you'd want to see more of us do. Do you like it like this? Do you like one topic? Do you like a bunch of topics? Like I said, we're going to try and get some guests on, maybe some media, maybe a player or two, and former player. We're going to work on that in the off season, and lots to talk about. Next week we maybe will do a season recap show, and we'll keep it going each week. As long as you guys keep coming, we'll be here.
Yeah. Our plan is to do, if not a weekly show, a bi-week, twice a month show, and we'll bring it right through up until the draft. Talk about the draft, getting the storylines going into the draft, the free agency, as we just spoke about, and we love hearing your comments, your questions. Keep them coming, and we love doing this, especially hearing the feedback from you guys. So absolutely, we'll continue right through up until the draft.
Yep, and a few people I'll recognize. Kurt, we had the Denver Bronco Roundup guys. Michael, always great to hear from you. We had Manny a little earlier. Trevor, again, the Denver Bronco Roundup guys. I'm saving the best for last. I'm trying to get everybody else in there. Janet said hello. A few others, and last but not least, our good friend Eddie Murphy. Always good to hear from you, Eddie, and a lot of fun in the chat with you. And waiting for Paul's parody on you, so it's coming. Paul's going to be working on a parody, so we'll make sure you're on for that. I'm waiting for that one. But that being said, I do want to thank everybody, and again, we'll be with you next week, and go Giants. The off season's here, but I think we're going to be heading in the right direction. I really do. So here's to 2024, Giants fans.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night, and enjoy the weekend and all the playoff games this weekend as well.